Pardon me. We're going to go ahead and get started this evening. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome each of you to this year's Ed Renwick Lecture Series. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tommy Screen, Executive Director of the Institute of Politics. And if you don't mind, I'm going to open with a couple remarks about tonight's event as well as the Institute of Politics. The Ed Renwick Lecture Series honors Loyola University's legendary political science professor and former longtime IOP director, Dr. Ed Renwick, by hosting national political experts for an annual lecture on politics and current events. Our hope for this series is that it will promote thought and debate about the important political issues of our time, give the current class, former Institute of Politics fellows, and the public the opportunity to engage in discussion with world-class thinkers or practitioners in the political or policy arena. For those of you who are not familiar with the IOP, please allow me to take a moment to explain who we are and what we do. Completing our 43rd year, the IOP aims to provide an in-depth political education to New Orleans' future elected officials, journalists, and civic activists. The mission of the IOP is to locate men and women with outstanding leadership potential, bring them together for a series of lectures and discussions on practical politics and government by prominent, experienced guest speakers. Our overall goal is to improve the quality of leadership here in the New Orleans region. In an attempt to accomplish this goal, our fellows are exposed to the history of politics in New Orleans and Louisiana and how that history helps to influence our decision makers and politicians. In addition, each year, the current class of fellows learn about many issues, including campaign strategy, campaign finance, polling, lobbying, and many other important issues that one needs to know before launching a political career. At this time, I would like to take a moment to recognize two very important groups of people. First is the Institute of Politics Board of Directors. These men and women are committed to the mission of the Institute and take time out of their busy schedule during the year to help ensure the IOP continues educating young leaders year after year. The 2010-2011 Board of Directors are as follows. Serving as President is Mr. John Baker III. As Vice President is Mr. Roger Villery. Secretary and Treasurer is Ms. Catherine Gelderman. Fellow board members include Mr. David Marcello, Dr. Ed Renwick, and President of Loyola University, Father Kevin Wilds. Please join me in a round of applause in recognizing the board for their efforts. The second group of individuals I'd like to recognize tonight are members of the 2010-2011 Institute of Politics class. It is my pleasure to announce that this year's class, which will graduate in a reception after tonight's lecture, is one of the largest in the Institute's history with 37 fellows. Class of 2011, if you don't mind, please stand for a moment. Audience members, if you would, take a look at those folks. If the IOP's history is any indication, those are going to be our future leaders in the future. Finally, before I turn it over to Lee so that we can begin tonight, I'd like to encourage each of you to invite any young professionals that you may be aware of that would be interested in taking part in the Institute of Politics and have them contact me, as we're currently accepting applications for the 2011 and 2012 year. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce tonight's moderator, WVUE TV anchor, chief investigative reporter, and I'm glad to announce that a former IOP fellow himself, Mr. Lee Zurich, who will tell you a little more about Dr. Renwick and our three guests tonight. Hope everyone has a great evening. Lee?
Thanks, Tommy. For the majority of its years, one name has been synonymous with the Institute of Politics, and that is, of course, Dr. Ed Renwick. Considered the Dean of New Orleans political analysts, Dr. Renwick taught political science at Loyola for nearly 40 years and was the director of the IOP from the mid-1970s until his retirement in 2008. Although he's from Chicago, we'll forgive him. He was educated in Arizona. Dr. Renwick quickly understood Louisiana politics and shared that understanding with students and the public. When not teaching, Dr. Renwick shared his knowledge with the rest of the city as an analyst and a pollster for WWL-TV. His insights into New Orleans politics were fascinating, and his ability to predict a winner, second to none. Dr. Renwick was voted the best pollster in New Orleans by the readers of the Gambit newspaper and was recipient of a Role Model Award presented by the Young Leadership Council in 1995. In 1999, Dr. Renwick was inducted into the Louisiana Political Hall of Fame. Just like Dr. Renwick, tonight's three guests were also proud members of the Louisiana Political Hall of Fame. In an effort to maximize the time you get to hear from our guests tonight, I'm going to kind of bypass listing each of their lengthy legislative accomplishments and give a short background on each guest's political career. First elected to the House of Representatives in 1972, Senator John Breaux was 28 years and at that time the youngest member of Congress. He went on to represent the 7th District of Louisiana for 14 years before being elected to fill Senator Russell Long's seat in 1986, where he served until his retirement from the U.S. Senate in early 2005. During his second career, Senator Breaux was a widely recognized bipartisan leader in the Senate, and in 1993 was appointed by his Democratic colleagues to the post of Chief Deputy Whip, a position he held until his retirement. In addition to serving as a key member in the Senate Finance and Commerce Committees, Senator Breaux chaired the Senate Special Committee on Aging, where he focused much-needed attention on the issues of Social Security and Medicare. In 1998, he was selected by the White House and congressional leaders of both parties to chair the National Bipartisan Commission on the Future of Medicare. During his time in Washington, Senator Breaux also co-founded the centrist coalition of Senate Democrats and Republicans and served as chairman of the Democratic Leadership Council. Currently, he serves as senior counsel at the Patton Boggs law firm in Washington, D.C., where he provides strategic advice to Patton Boggs attorneys and clients on a wide range of public policy matters with a particular focus on the areas of health care and energy law. Thank you for coming, Senator Breaux.
All right, bro.
Congressman Bob Livingston was elected to the United States House of Representatives in a special election in 1977, the first Republican to represent Louisiana's 1st congressional district in 102 years. He was reelected to 11 successive two-year terms. During his term, he served as a member of the House Appropriations Committee and for the maximum period of 6 years on the House Select Committee on Intelligence. From 1995 through 1998, he served as the chairman of the powerful House Appropriations Committee. At the start of the 105th Congress in 1997, Mr. Livingston chaired the bipartisan Ethics Reform Task Force, and in addition to shepherding the 13 appropriations bills through the legislative process, was responsible for revamping the House ethics rules. He was chosen by his peers to serve as Speaker designate for the 106th Congress. Following his departure from Congress in February of 1999, Mr. Livingston established a successful lobbying firm known as the Livingston Group in both Washington, D.C. and New Orleans. A proud graduate of Tulane University, where he received both his undergraduate and law degrees, Congressman Livingston is also a proud fellow of the Institute of Politics. Mr. Livingston lives with his wife, Bonnie, in Alexandria, Virginia, and New Orleans, Louisiana. Thanks for joining us tonight. After serving 3 terms in the Louisiana State Legislature, where he was acknowledged as one of Louisiana's 10 best lawmakers, Congressman Tozan was first elected to Congress in 1980. He went on to serve 13 terms as a congressman of Louisiana's 3rd Congressional District. Initially elected as a Democrat, over time his conservative views increasingly led him to vote with the House Republicans on several key issues. With that in mind, Tozan switched parties in 1995 and soon was a rising star in the GOP. During his long and distinguished political career, Mr. Tozan exhibited a leadership style that made him a standout among our nation's elected officials. In fact, he still holds the distinction of being the only American to serve in the leadership of both political parties in Congress. While in Congress, he held several leadership positions, beginning with his chairmanship of a Merchant Marine Subcommittee and culminating with his chairmanship of the powerful House Energy and Commerce Committee. In addition to the committee posts, he was named Deputy Majority Whip in 1995, and in an effort to promote a spirit of bipartisan cooperation on Capitol Hill, he co-founded and co-chaired the Blue Dogs, still one of the most influential caucuses in Congress. As he began a year-long successful battle against cancer that presented him with a mere 1% chance of survival, Tozan announced in February 2004 that he would not run for another term, and he retired from Congress in January of 2005. After his retirement, he was selected to lead PhRMA, the pharmaceutical industry's leading trade association, and recently completed a 5-year term with PhRMA. During his term as head of PhRMA, he successfully led the industry through the contentious health care debate of 2010. Currently a special legislative counsel to the Alston Byrd Legislative and Public Policy Group, his practice is focused on legislative, regulatory, and policy matters. Please welcome Congressman Tozan. We were talking before. When was the last time the three of you were together?
About 6 or 8 years ago.
6 or 8 years ago? I don't even know. Do we need a moderator? Couldn't we just kind of wind you up and y'all would just start talking?
Then you wouldn't get paid.
That's
You don't need a
Tommy,
moderator.
I'm getting paid tonight? I didn't know that.
You wouldn't need a moderator. You need a referee.
A referee? That's what you're for. You're the bipartisan one,
in the
right?
middle.
Yeah, in the middle. I get started, I guess, with a kind of a big picture on politics. Growing up, is there someone or people that y'all maybe followed, an older politician or something that maybe got your interest in politics?
Not for me. I didn't get involved in politics at all until I was in law school.
Mm-hmm.
And the second and third years of law school, I ran for president of the class, and for some reason they elected me. About that time, I was getting interested and I was looking for a job, posted a note on the bulletin board and got picked up for $500 a month by a guy named Dave Train, who I practiced law with for 2 years before he actually got elected to anything. He'd run 3 times maybe, for Congress and once for governor and lost them all, but perseverance got it and became the first Republican congressman in the Congress from Louisiana. And I just kind of followed in his tracks. He was my mentor. His right arm was Billy Nungesser, the father of the Billy Nungesser, who was the parish president of Plaquemine Parish. One day, Billy Nungesser Sr. called me up and says, we got a job opening. Somebody's